Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Wednesday, September 28th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. It's going to be a long road to recovery for many Nova Scotians who are cleaning up the mess left behind by Hurricane Fiona. The province held an update today with officials in charge of what happens next.
As of last night, we still had about 40 roads that were either fully blocked or partially blocked. And unfortunately, for some of those, we need Nova Scotia Power to shut down power again for our crews to get out and work on street lights, traffic lights, and things like that. But we're making huge progress every day.
Here in Halifax, crews are busy at work, clearing downed trees and restoring electricity to thousands who are still without power across HRM. Suzanne Hazlitt got her power back this morning after 4 days in the dark. Originally from London, England, she says the hurricane became a learning opportunity on how to properly be prepared.
And we didn't even have a lighter. So when the power went out, we had to actually text our neighbor across. Our phones were still working, text our lovely neighbors across the road. And our lovely neighbor, Chris, came across in the middle of the storm to bring us a lighter. So we didn't have a lighter. And I, on a whim the day before, had bought a generator at Costco. Which I kind of thought was a bit foolish at the time, but fortunately we did. But we didn't even have gas for the generator. So we were really ill prepared.
In the grand scheme of things, Hazlitt says she's grateful for the time without devices and that Nova Scotians have stepped up in a big way to help their neighbors.
Costco buying the generator, they were flying off the shelves literally, and there was just two left, and I got the second to last one. But the issue at Costco is I couldn't get one of the flatbed trolleys to get it out to my car because all of those were being used. So I paired up with another customer in the store, asked him as he was wheeling past me if he would help me, and he was very kind and said no problem. So he loaded it up for me and even put it in my car for me. So that's Nova Scotia for you. Yeah.
We'll have Mayor Mike Savage's thoughts on the outages a bit later on in the newscast with Sheldon McLeod. One food truck in Dartmouth has been lending a helping hand to those who have been hit hard by Hurricane Fiona. For the second straight afternoon, the Mr. Smooth food truck was parked outside the Dartmouth North Community Centre yesterday in Highfield Park, serving burgers and fries to locals without power.
It's fantastic. We just threw out everything in our fridge this morning. The missus is sick at home. I've been sick since the hurricane. So people doing this is great. We've got a sign on our front porch saying, please use our barbecue. And, you know, the propane's running out. So having this happen now is like right on time.
The Highfield Park area was hit hard by Fiona. More than 1,500 households in the area were still without electricity last night.
It is what it is. Nothing you can do about it. Natural causes.
The free food came compliments of the city and family-owned food business run by Ron and Rhonda Beals, and with help from their son, Jeremy, who have also been without power. They handed out meals to about 200 people on Monday, and were expecting the same number last night. Wednesday afternoon, just under 100,000 people were still without power across Nova Scotia, and around 10,000 in HRM were still in the dark. Crews from New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Quebec, Ontario, and the New England region of the United States have been called in to help. Nova Scotia Power says they now have over 1,400 people in the field responding to the extreme damage caused by Fiona. Premier Tim Houston is calling on telecommunications companies to be more collaborative with the Emergency Management Office and transparent with Nova Scotians. He's also calling on the federal government to step in and make sure companies provide more information about service outages in the aftermath of Hurricane Fiona. Houston says, quote, "It is unacceptable that there are Nova Scotians who can't call 911 or connect with their loved ones during this difficult time." Next to Truro, the Colchester Waste Management Centre has been filling up with the massive amount of tree wood and branch waste that residents have been dropping off since the storm hit. SaltWire's Scott Squires is there for us and has the details. Scott.
That now familiar sound of chainsaws is something most of us have become quite accustomed to over the last few days. Philip Redden, the Director of Solid Waste for the municipality of Colchester, wants you to know you've got somewhere to take your tree waste.
Residents of the area, both the county of Colchester as well as the town of Truro and the town of Stewiacke, are eligible to bring any tree and yard waste from Fiona up to our site, and they can bring it to this area behind me to be able to be properly disposed for eventually chipping into debris, to chipper waste that can be used for a fuel purpose later on. So they just arrive at our facility and identify the fact that they're bringing tree and yard waste, and up until Monday of next week, October 3rd, the municipality, the councillors have agreed to waive the tipping fees associated with bringing that tree and yard waste to our facility. We have a great staff here, and we modified our operations, brought in generators and other facilities needed to operate without power, and it's been a real team effort.
You can find out more information about the facility by going to colchester.ca. From the Colchester Waste Management Resource Complex in Kemptown, I'm Scott Squires for the SaltWire Network.
Thank you, Scott. Well, it's been a good year for Maritime singer-songwriter David Miles, who started 2022 with his first Juno Award win, and now he returns this week with a brand new album and a pair of Halifax shows with Symphony Nova Scotia. SaltWire Network's Stephen Cook caught up with the singer to find out more about his latest projects.
David Miles is one of the most recognizable musicians on the East Coast, thanks to his winning songwriting style, collaborations with artists like Classified and Joel Plaskett, and a seemingly effortless ability to entertain a crowd with upbeat and relatable tunes. When he tried a different approach last year with his instrumental album, That Tall Distance, he received a 2022 Juno Award for his efforts, and now he's making up for lost time over 2 years of COVID to tour Canada and perform on Friday and Saturday night in Halifax with Symphony Nova Scotia.
I just don't think I take them for granted at all. Now I'm like, oh my goodness, like, are you kidding me? I get to play with an orchestra and they're playing my songs that I've written with all these great musicians and with musicians I've played with for years and years and years, and we get to be back together.
Miles says his new record, It's Only a Little Loneliness, is a reaction to the past 2 years of staying off the road and being away from fans and friends in the musical community. The songs are spiritual in the way they address how we're all connected and what happens when those connections are broken, and feature guest appearances by talented peers like Rose Cousins, Bria Isabel, and Renee and Mahalia Smith.
The balance between our kind of inner spiritual needs, our inner lives, and our social lives. And I think that this pandemic really showed that we were moving between these two poles often, at least I was, and so this was a record that was very much influenced by the last 2 years.
After establishing a career as a cross-country favorite while based in Halifax, Miles moved back to his hometown of Fredericton and has been enjoying being back in the neighborhood where he grew up and reconnecting with his family and community roots there. But his absence has also increased his fondness for playing his former adopted home, and he looks forward to this weekend's symphony shows at the Rebecca Cohen Auditorium.
I'm reconnecting with a lot of people and a lot of old friends and my parents' friends and all those kind of things. And I think also it just gives you a sense of that it's a special career. It's a special profession. It's a bizarre and interesting and magical profession that I'm lucky to do.
For information on David Miles' shows this weekend, visit symphonynovascotia.ca. And to hear his new album, It's Only a Little Loneliness, visit his page on bandcamp.com. In Halifax, I'm Stephen Cook for the SaltWire Network.
It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with HRM Mayor Mike Savage.
Are you satisfied with the pace of the restoration? Some folks, obviously, who were less affected. I'm not in a position to judge because my power didn't go out. But if you've been 4 days without, the ability to, live in your own home with electricity, I'm sure you're quite frustrated. Are you satisfied with the pace so far?
I think generally, yeah. I think, Nova Scotia Power are at our Emergency Operations Center. They have their own kind of war room set up, but they had people at the EOC. And it's a difficult time for any utility when you have a storm. I remember after Hurricane Juan, we were without power for a long time. I remember community barbecues in our street back after that one. Hurricane Dorian, similarly. Nobody wants to go home to a house without power, and nobody wants to wake up to a home without power. And as I say, we lost our power Friday night. We got it back on Tuesday. So that's frustrating. But I think we have to understand how many people were working on behalf of the power utility to get power back on. And I commend the folks who were up in buckets, just as I do the people who were working for the city, who did an amazing job on the trees that were down on the streets in Halifax. We didn't get hit as hard, but we got hit, and we got hit hard. And we had a lot of trees down, a lot of damage. I've seen some of these massive, mature trees that have come down, landed on power lines, but also in some cases on houses. I think that the work that's been done has been pretty good by our works people, and I think that Nova Scotia Power did a good job of communicating as much as they could during the circumstances and getting the work done.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of saltwire.com. On to weather now. Alistair Alders is off this week. We're going to take a look at our 7-day forecast. High teens to finish off the work week with a mix of sun and clouds. Then this weekend, the temperature is expected to drop a fair bit on Sunday. Low teens to start next week with sun in the forecast and some showers expected next Wednesday. Well, that's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at SaltWire Today. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.